Welcome back to the Excel page, man, where I like to cover any and everything that I can use or pass on to excel in life. Whether it's cryptocurrency, whether it's holistic healing, or whether it's just some knowledge that we can use in the courtroom, or wherever. Paperwork, documents, things of that sort. But here today, this is not financial advice. I'm working on cryptocurrency. That's been my passion lately. I have Art Laffer. He's the former economic advisor for Reagan and Trump. He's being interviewed by Michelle Makori, one of my favorite interviewers. I love this channel. Go check it out, y'all. Kitco News. But just check out what he's saying, because I really believe that if we ever get into a war, it will be because of the tariffs and because of weaponizing the dollar pretty much. And we've done that over and over and over, and it's kind of getting old, and countries have caught on, and they've finally found a way to opt out of the system that the U.S. has created, the system that they keep weaponizing and using against countries. And it's going to come down to a war. It's the only way that has happened, and he's going to explain exactly why and how this has happened, like over and over. It's a short video. I'm gonna stop talking so we can get into it, but just pay attention to what he's saying. Tariffs on countries and not opening trade to happen amongst our enterprises is going to cause a war, because money, for one, our money is going to go down. Everybody is it starts to trickle down effect. Okay, but just pay attention, just listen, and let's get into the video.
Something like almost 43, 44% of GDP, which is huge. I think government spending restraint is necessary. And the last thing that's happened in the last 5 or 6 years has been spending restraint. I mean, literally, we're moving in exactly the opposite way of the North Star in spending. Now, monetary policy, the key here is we need a sound money. There's nothing that can bring an economy to its knees quicker and faster than unhinged paper currencies. And those unhinged paper currencies lead to high interest rates, they lead to high inflation, they lead to a huge expansion of the Fed's balance sheet. That's exactly it. We are moving away from monetary stability. We're moving towards an unhinged paper currency again. Taxes, we're moving in the wrong direction. Government spending, we're moving in the wrong direction. Monetary policy, we're moving. Regulation. We have all sorts of regulations that have been imposed on the U.S. economy, especially in healthcare, especially in energy, and in lots of other areas. All, again, you want minimal regulations. We need regulations badly. We really do. But we want to make sure that we don't go beyond the specific purpose at hand and create a lot of collateral damage to the overall U.S. economy with unwarranted regulations. And in that sense, we are moving in the wrong direction. We need to deregulate the economy, not regulate. And lastly, and the most important one of all, and forgive me about this because I'm a little bit off from the mainstream on this one, but
Before he gets in the last one, which is going to be trade, I already know because I watched this, but you have to listen to what he said. He said regulations, and he said in particular, I don't know if he called it, he said the wordage. If we don't get the wordage right, and that's what's going on with cryptocurrency. They can't get the wordage right. That's why everything else has been so regulated and is so broad. Like, they don't have specifics on things. You wonder why certain products can't come into the U.S. when it's actually legal somewhere else and actually good for you, but here they will ban it, or vice versa. It's the same kind of regulations that they have on stupid things. So it's like, yo, can we get some clarification on like what needs to be regulated and what doesn't, like what's actually good for us and what's not? Because the regulations that we have in the food industry and the pharma industry and in the financial industry, like all regulation seems to pretty much like not be for us. So this is a way of creating the sovereignty and all of that over again. But we're starting financially through blockchain and through cryptocurrency, if you can understand that, if you can tie that together. Um, I'm gonna get back into the video though, man, because the wordage and the regulations is what is important, and that's what's taking so long, in my opinion, for cryptocurrency to be adopted and for the U.S. to finally say, "Hey, you guys can invest in cryptocurrency." Let's get back into the video.
Trade. I mean, the U.S. economy was created by free trade. From 1640 until 1870, for 230 years, the U.S. ran trade deficits. We built our country on importing capital from the rest of the world. You know, I think there were 5 years or 6 years that we had trade surpluses during that whole period. We had trade deficits and capital surpluses. And those years were 1776, 1775, when we were at war with Britain. No wonder they wouldn't lend us money. 1812, 1813, again, another war with Britain. They wouldn't lend us money. And then we had the big canal collapse in the 1840s. Up until 1870, we'd run trade deficits every year. We built our country with capital from abroad, and we had free trade. It really gave us the prosperity we have. And now we see all sorts of people trying to impose sanctions and create trade restrictions. No, trade is not a political weapon. Trade is an economic policy that creates prosperity. If you want to get angry at a country, use your military. If you want to get angry at them verbally, use your State Department. But leave trade out of the mix. Any impediment to the free flow of goods and services is bad for us. It's bad for foreigners. And this is especially true, Michelle, with regard to our presumed enemies. We should be trading with Russia. We should be trading with China. We should be trading with Iran. We should be trading with North Korea. Now, I'm not suggesting we sell nuclear weapons to them. That's not what I'm suggesting. But once you trade with people, you understand them, you do business with them, you like them, they pay you, you pay them. It's a wonderful thing. And you send them birthday cards and wedding anniversary things and all of that. And you talk over.
Now, I don't share these exact same sentiments, but I understand exactly where he is coming from. It's like easing the tension amongst the countries, you know, in a sense of if we're willing to trade and at least do business and and have respect for one another at that level, we can at least, you know, coexist in other areas. So I'm gonna just drop that in there and continue with the video.
Difference is you talk over your problems rather than fighting and shooting. And, you know, sanctions are a very, very bad, crude, vulgar instrument of international policy, and they don't work. We've been sanctioning Cuba now since 1959. What's that, 65 years now, Michelle? And you can see how it's worked. I mean, how Cuba now has seen free market, democratic, pro-growth economics as being the answer, and America, how much we love you. It's false. Never should you use trade as a political weapon in the world economy. You should never do that. You should always use the State Department and the Defense Department, but not trade. Trade is a measure of peace. Bob Mundell, your famous Canadian economist and my dearest friend and colleague, he was my mentor throughout all of my years in economics. He, in his Nobel laureate speech, said it was the Smoot-Hawley tariff of 1929-1930 that caused the Great Depression. And it was the Great Depression that caused World War II. It was literally the tariffs and quotas and restrictions on trade that caused World War II. That is his Nobel laureate address. And messing around with trade is the most dangerous, stupid thing I have ever heard. And so that's what we should do: is low rate, broad-based, flat taxes, spending restraints, sound money, minimal regulations, and free trade, especially with countries you don't agree with, because we need to have interaction with them and understanding the problem. We can sit there and say, well, you Chinese, you're not treating your Uyghurs well. Yeah, well, you Americans aren't treating the blacks well in Alabama. You know, have conversations about it. Don't sit there and get the mad, nasty, angry person.
Sanctions and weaponizing the U.S. dollar may, in fact, lead to its ultimate demise, because there are concerns that a pivotal point was the sanctions imposed on Russia and kicking Russia off the SWIFT system. That move by the Biden administration set in motion an irreversible trend of de-dollarization and the bifurcation of the global monetary system, so much so that even Janet Yellen has recently acknowledged that sanctions and weaponizing of the dollar will see the world use less dollars, and we're seeing that trend accelerate.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Right. Since then, we've seen countries think twice about having dollar reserves, and we're seeing countries, particularly the BRICS Plus, actively dumping the dollar, saying that they should be trading in their own currencies. China and Brazil, the world's most populous and the sixth most populous countries, working to trade more in their local currencies, the yuan and the real. The petrodollar is on very shaky ground. The agreement there not renewed, whether it was official or not, is a whole other conversation. But point remains that oil, which used to be sold exclusively in dollars, is now being sold in exchange for other currencies, from ruble to yuan to rupees. In fact, JP Morgan Chase has estimated that about 20% of the world's oil has been bought and sold in other currencies, and that was just last year. We don't have the latest data on where we are in 2024 on that. According to the IMF, another statistic here, dollar reserves held by central banks fell to 58.4% during the fourth quarter of 2023, the lowest level in 25 years. So we've got central banks buying gold at record levels and reducing their share of US dollar reserves. And in May, we learned that China sold off a record amount of US bonds in the first quarter, intensifying its shift away from dollar-denominated assets. Japan also has been selling US Treasury securities for several consecutive months, this trend happening around the world. The BRICS are also actively working on a new common currency, potentially backed by commodities, to move away from the dollar. And many would say that the inflection point was that excessive weaponization of the dollar against Russia after its invasion of Ukraine and the freezing of Russian assets, and then, of course, kicking Moscow off the SWIFT system, that was a pivotal point there. And that was also compounded by the preceding debacle of the Afghanistan withdrawal by the Biden administration and the way that worked out. So where do you see this de-dollarization trend going? How seriously should we be concerned about it and the dominance of the US dollar as the global reserve currency?
You made my point perfectly, Michelle. I mean, this is exactly the right point. We did this once before, if you remember, in the 70s. In the 70s, we did it with Russia as well. We had all sorts. I don't know if you remember Jimmy Carter precluding them from the Olympics and all the stuff. And it caused the euro-dollar market to develop where world currencies could be operated outside of the political control of the U.S. government. The same thing you're seeing happening right now. I mean, the dollar has been made to be not a good international currency, and people are moving into all sorts of alternatives to the U.S. dollar, and it's only natural. And these currencies, the U.S. dollar specifically, should not be politicized, should not be a weapon. And if you do going to make it a weapon, you're going to lose your control. We're going to lose the seigniorage gains of the dollar in the world community. And they will, and we will all move to a separate alternative regime in the global economy. Maybe Bitcoin, maybe gold, maybe some other set of currencies. But that is...
Okay, that was the point of my video. That last little sentence that he said. Maybe we will move to another regime, but there is no more maybe, guys. I just want to let you know that behind closed doors, crypto is being adopted by the largest corporations, companies, enterprises, central banks, you name it, man. You name it. JP Morgan's, the infidelities, the everybody. It is being invested right now. This is what a time to be alive. And this is actually my theme at the moment. It may not feel like it because it is the recession piece is crazy. Like we are definitely in a recession, in my opinion. I don't want to make this channel politicized at all. I just feel like to address cryptocurrency and sometimes to address certain issues, you have to dabble in politics, and I'm not afraid to do that. I'm in no support, I will repeat, in no support of no candidate. This is a nonpartisan channel. This is also not financial advice. Don't invest in anything that I preach about or praise or put any kind of attention on. It's just opinion based. I love you guys. Once again, excel, man. We do this to excel in whatever part of life that you operate in. Y'all have a good night. All right.